There's a saying in Jamaica, them little but them talawa. So small but mighty.
Talk to me about the patois that's used in, in that area of Jamaica.
What I grew up hearing, like I was a lot of around a lot of like older folks, so especially from like the church, so I heard a lot of like proverbs. Like that was a big one that I remember distinctly. There are just certain words that you would hear in the rural part of the countries that you would never hear in the city. And
Mm,
I think that's like common for like everywhere that you go. The more city like you go to, there are certain words and phrases, ways of expression that you don't hear anymore. So that shift when I did eventually move to the city, I picked up the difference real quick. I was like, huh, okay, so that's what you mean by that. And I had to explain, okay, well, that's what I mean by this. And then they could tell, they're like, oh, yeah, country bumpkin. Like, if you moved to Montego Bay, which is where I lived for some time after I lived in Kingston, even the way I said tomorrow, like that was a dead giveaway that that girl had just come from Kingston. I think the only thing that's missing is making the language an official one,
mm,
because at this point it has been so recognized globally. It's in movies, it's in cultural, it's in music, all these different things. And so what is happening in the conversation now is that you do have a lot of people who have been waking up to realize that there's something special about the language. What they were told about the language was false. The notion of it's broken English or the language of the uneducated, all these different, stereotypes and myths. They are slowly waking up to that reality, and more people are speaking out that, yeah, we should have it as an official language next to English.
how have you been able to navigate that journey? And I guess what have you noticed from other people who speak Haitian Creole and people who are learning or maybe even reconnecting with their cultural language, with their roots in speaking the language?
Mhm. It wasn't until I was maybe 19 that I knew that French was an official language also in Haiti. Because in my books, the official language has always been Haitian Creole, because that's what I heard from
Mm-hmm.
my parents. That's what I heard from my relatives. I ain't never heard no French till I did French. Or a lot of people have that conversation of making it an official language. Haiti has gotten to that point to do that. However, in some settings, there are still some people who look at as Haitian Creole as not enough either. That still there's still that notion of, if you want to be sophisticated, you pull out the French.
Mm,
You leave the Haitian Creole for at home, talk to the family, but if you want to show out, you speak French. And
mm-hmm.
I'm like, now wait a minute. Why can't we show out in Haitian Creole too? Like, come on now. Like, what's going on here? It's interesting because Dominica and Saint Lucia, they are two English speaking countries, but they
Mm,
have a French based Creole as well.
yeah.
They don't use R's in Dominican Creole and Saint Lucian Creole. So when they're spelling like the word Creole, it's spelled with a W. So instead of Kro YOL, it's KWEYOL. These languages have a story. We are doing our best to preserve them, to bring it back to to how it was before, to actually have people understand the words that were said back in the day versus now, just so people understand. I think it's harder with English based Creole languages because of that reason. With the
Mm-hmm.
French based languages, they have a bit more, I would say, people are more receptive to saying, yes, that's definitely a language. But the English based ones, I've had people flat out tell me, no, I will never recognize them as being an
Mm,
official language or being a legitimate language. It's just a broken English. But they will accept the French based ones.
interesting.
People are not that receptive to believing that it is also a legitimate language. So they go with the notion of, yeah, it's just people who can't talk English. Yeah.